Hello, this is Lee Hayward from Total Fitness Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to be covering a complete overview of a good muscle building nutrition program. A few weeks ago, I sent out an email to my Bodybuilding Tips newsletter, and I asked the readers what aspects of building muscle, losing fat, and getting in shape that they wanted to learn about the most. Well, hands down, the most popular topic was nutrition. There seems to be so much confusion and misinformation out there when it comes to nutrition that people just don't know what they should be eating. So in this presentation, I'm going to cover the basics of a sound eating plan that will help support you in achieving your muscle building and fat loss goals. The key to any successful nutrition program is to keep it simple. Eating is a huge part of our life. Everything revolves around eating in some way or another. So if you don't have a simple, easy to follow nutrition program, then you'll never stick with it and get the long-term results that you really want. A prime example of this is when people go on a really strict fat loss diet, lose some weight, and then gain it all back. I'm sure you know of at least one person who has done this, and maybe you've even done it yourself. I see this time and time again. Someone will get a shot of motivation, and then through pure willpower and determination, they will stick to a really strict eating plan for several weeks or even several months, only to eventually run out of motivation and willpower. Then they will revert back to their old eating habits and regain all the weight they lost. This is a classic case of yo-yo dieting. In order to get long-term results, you need to have a long-term eating plan, not just some quick fix diet to get in shape in a hurry. You need an eating plan that you can be comfortable with for life. Right now, I'm going to cover the basic principles of a sound muscle building nutrition program. For those of you who have already read a fair bit about nutrition, this will seem like old news to you. But I want to cover the basics here for the benefit of everyone watching so that we're all on the same page. Later in the presentation, I'll go into more details and share some practical techniques and strategies that you can use to help incorporate a healthy muscle-building nutrition program into your busy lifestyle. The first thing you need to do is get into the habit of eating every 3 hours during the day. This generally works out to 6 meals per day. The typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner just doesn't cut it when it comes to optimal muscle-building nutrition. You need frequent small feedings throughout the day in order to maintain a steady influx of nutrients into your system. Try and space your meals out equally over 6 small meals. This will help keep your appetite under control, keep your energy levels stable, and help to prevent you from stuffing and eating too much at any one particular meal. A common mistake that a lot of novice bodybuilders make when trying to gain muscular size quickly is to force feed themselves in an effort to consume more calories for growth. But rather than doing this, you'd be much better off adding in extra meals, rather than making the meals themselves bigger. This also works in the opposite. Some people who are trying to lose weight will only eat 1 or 2 large meals per day, and then try to justify it because their overall caloric intake is still low. But what happens is this causes poor nutrition absorption and triggers fat storage. Large, infrequent meals will cause huge spikes in your insulin levels, and when your insulin levels are high, your body's ability to burn fat is suppressed. So to avoid this, space your food out equally over 6 small meals per day, one every 3 hours. So just a quick recap. The benefits of frequent small meals are that they help to maintain an anabolic state in the body. By not going any longer than 3 hours between meals, you prevent your body from utilizing your lean muscle tissue for fuel. Frequent meals enhance nutrient absorption and help to stabilize your blood sugar levels. This is a lot easier on the body's digestive system and prevents excess fat gain. You will allow your body to better utilize the food you eat by having smaller, frequent meals throughout the day. It's also a lot more comfortable to eat smaller meals. This will prevent the bloated and distended stomach that you often get when you overeat at any one particular meal. Now I'm going to break down the elements that make up a good muscle building meal. First, you need to consume a high protein intake. The general rule of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily is a good place to start. Now I know there's a lot of controversy over protein intake, but the bottom line is that I've never met a single person yet who was big and muscular and did not consume a high protein diet. Every single one of your meals needs to have a good source of protein. You should space your protein intake out equally over 6 small meals per day. Now you don't have to be 100% spot on with this, but try your best to space your protein intake out equally so that you provide your body with a continuous supply of amino acids to help support muscle growth. This is how you would calculate how much protein you should be eating for each meal. First, you need to consume at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight daily. So for example, if you weigh 175 pounds, then you should be eating at least 175 grams of protein per day. 175 grams of protein divided up over the course of 6 meals works out to approximately 30 grams of protein per meal. The best sources of protein are lean animal proteins such as skinless chicken, skinless turkey, lean cuts of beef, pork, lamb, all kinds of fish, eggs and egg whites, dairy products like milk and cottage cheese. These foods are complete proteins because they contain all the essential amino acids needed for muscle growth. Many vegetable and non-animal protein sources are lacking in several of the key amino acids, thus they're considered incomplete proteins. You can also supplement your diet with protein in the way of protein powders and protein bars. This is ideal for people who find it difficult to consume enough protein from food alone. Generally, protein supplements work out to be cheaper on a gram-for-gram basis than high-protein foods, and they're a lot more convenient. You can simply mix up a couple scoops of protein powder in a shaker bottle and have an instant source of complete muscle-building protein. This is ideal for when you're busy and do not have time to prepare or eat a complete high-protein meal. For most people, the meal that lacks protein is usually breakfast. Typical breakfast foods like having a coffee and a bagel, or cereal and toast, and things like that, they just don't cut it. They do not give your body enough protein. So by adding in a protein drink with your breakfast, you can quickly and easily solve this problem and get your day started off on the right track. Another thing that I want to cover before we move on is the myth that a high protein intake is bad for your kidneys. It's not uncommon for novice bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts to be led astray by a well-meaning doctor or dietitian saying that too much protein can cause kidney damage. But this is just a nutrition myth based on old, outdated information. There has never been any studies that show a high protein intake causes any type of kidney damage in healthy individuals. The idea that protein is bad for the kidneys came about because people with pre-existing kidney problems generally need to be put on a low-protein diet. But there has never been a single case where eating a high-protein diet has caused the kidney problems to begin with. It's almost like trying to say eating carbohydrates will cause diabetes because people with diabetes generally need to be put on a carb-controlled diet. The bottom line, if you're in good health with no pre-existing problems, you can safely consume a well-balanced diet that includes protein. Now we're going to move on to talking about carbs. Carbohydrate intake is a hot nutrition topic in the media these days. Everywhere you turn, you'll see something about low-carb this and zero-carb that. But the fact is, carbohydrates are a critical part of your muscle-building nutrition program. Carbohydrates provide a protein-sparing effect. When your carbohydrate intake is too low, your body will convert protein into glucose for energy. When this happens, your muscles will be left feeling flat and depleted. Muscle fullness largely depends on the glycogen stores within the muscle cells. Your muscle glycogen stores also greatly impact your strength and energy levels in the gym and whether or not you're able to get a good pump while working out. If you've ever followed a low-carb diet for any length of time, I'm sure you noticed a significant loss in strength, and it's almost impossible to get any decent pump while working out. Your carbohydrate intake will vary greatly depending on your fitness goals. If your goal is to get bigger and gain muscular size, then you need to eat upwards of 3 grams of carbohydrates per pound of body weight, and maybe even more depending on your individual metabolism. If your goal is to lose body fat, then you need to eat between 1 and 1.5 grams of carbohydrates per pound of body weight daily. The exact numbers will vary from person to person, and the amounts you will need greatly depend on your individual metabolism and your activity level. This is where getting personalized help from a good diet coach can help. But by simply following these guidelines here in this presentation, you'll move yourself in the right direction towards your fitness goals.